and hello everybody, it's me, your weird Uncle Lee, and in today's video, I am finally fulfilling the promise that a lot of you have been commenting on this entire series of public domain redesign videos thus far, and that promise is of me creating my very own public domain X-Men related team. So, I think you saw the thumbnail to the video, I think you know what's happening, so enough of me talking, and let's get drawing. If I'm creating my very own interpretation of the X-Men, I obviously need to create, some type of uniform for them to wear, because after all, my interpretation of this team is going to be wearing the first class look, if you will, and the inspiration for this is obviously the very first costumes that ever came out in the very first X-Men books, so that's more or less my inspiration for the suit design here. And by the way, I'm not going to be calling them the X-Men, but I'll be calling them the O-Men because of the O-negative blood that runs in their veins that give them their superpower, still tying into the genetic aspect of these characters. So yes, this is what they will all be wearing. The X-Men have Charles Xavier, but I have Matt Price Jr., aka the Brain Boy. The Brain Boy was originally a character who was born with telepathic abilities and was used for spy and espionage related reasons. But in my interpretation, he's actually that exact same character except a former spy, and his entire O-Men operation is to be used for specific, international related threats. This guy's the head honcho, he's the leader of it all, and the telepath that brings everybody together. This is Matt Price Jr., aka Professor O. For anyone who's actually been in the very beginning of this entire series when I made my own Avengers, this is actually the same character, but instead I'm transforming him and putting him into this team. This is Pat Dempsey, aka Man of Metal, a factory worker whose mutant powers activated when he fell into a vat of white, hot metal, activating his abilities. So when he came out, he was made of purified metal, and not only that, when he comes into contact with electricity or heat, kaboom, bursts into flame, but with no harm attached to it, giving you the Man of Metal, my Colossus. Now, this one's a little interesting. Julia Storms was originally a side character for another public domain superhero, I think by the name of the Butterfly, and she didn't really have much of a main role. But in my rendition of this character, she is actually going to be a Colombian woman who discovers her ability to control the weather. And because of that, she was one of the most valued members of the O-Men team, and of course, one that Professor O decided to personally seek out to see if he can get her onto the team, giving you my interpretation of Storm, which I call Tempest. The X-Men have their Icemen, and I have my very own in the form of Subzero. Subzero was actually one of those original public domain superheroes who were fighting off the Nazis during World War II. So in this rendition of the character, he is actually a current war veteran who just probably did a tour in Iraq and was probably discharged due to XYZ related reasons, but of course made him a perfect adversary for Professor O's O-Men task force, giving you, well, Subzero. The name is pretty solid as it is. The X-Men has a Cyclops, and I have Bright Eyes. Okay, look, I'm gonna just be straight up with you. This is more of a design note situation. Finding a character with laser eyes in the public domain is extremely difficult because the X-Men abilities and powers aren't, a very common thing in the public domain. So finding characters like this is a very difficult thing to do. So the fact that I found a character with laser eyes was at least something. And I think the name Bright Eyes does work, or I might change the name to something else. I really didn't have a proper name for the character. But yes, this is my Cyclops, Bright Eyes. Pending name until further notice. These last three are technically original, and it was very difficult to find public domain characters with their exact abilities, so I had to just go the original or knockoff route. And this, starting things off with this team, this is my knockoff interpretation of Wolverine that I call Badgery. It's basically just Wolverine, just not being called Wolverine. Are his powers the same? Are they different? We'll never know. we'll figure that out whenever I decide to write this as an actual book. But yes, this is my interpretation of the character of Wolverine that I call Badger. Original character number 2 out of this entire team is my interpretation of Nightcrawler that I call Imp. Now, Nightcrawler in the X-Men comics was actually a swashbuckling pirate kind of character, quite literally loving pirate movies and being a swordsman. And in my rendition, Imp is actually a gunslinger who is a huge fan of Western films. And on top of that, I'm still keeping the idea that the demon-looking character is ironically enough the most Christian out of all of them because, again, irony is hysterical in this sense. So yes, this is my interpretation of Nightcrawler that I call Imp. Original character number 3, and by far my favorite one out of them all, because he was actually a Dungeons & Dragons character that I once played in a game like years ago, and I decided to revitalize him and put him in the superhero universe. His name is Ronin. He is going to be my stand-in for Beast. And the thing is, he's not book smarts, no, he's battle tactic smarts. Just kind of like how Cyclops is the best strategic mind on the battlefield, this is the same way, except with Ronin. Ronin is the battle smarts kind of guy. He is just, you know, a beast in terms of battling things out. So this is my interpretation of Beast that I call Ronin. So to recap everything that we have thus far, we have our own Beast, our own Colossus, Professor X, Cyclops, Iceman, Storm, Wolverine, and Nightcrawler. And with this team combined, they are simply known as the Omen. Hydration break. Almost choked down some water. Kids, learn how to hydrate properly. Don't take it from your Uncle Lee. Ooh, okay. And by the way, if you enjoyed this video thus far, you might as well hit... If you made it this far into the video, I'm glad that you did. Comment the letter O just to let me know that you've made it this far. And if you like videos like this, then you might as well hit the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, you might as well hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell, so that way you guys get notified for every time I make a video like this. So hey, there's that. That's just, again, my opinion. Nobody asked for. I'll see if I can survive, but let's get on with the rest of the video. A variety of people don't have a purified understanding as to how or why this has happened, but what they do know is this. If you were born in this world with O-negative blood, you have a 50-50% chance of being a mutant. And one of the main signifiers outside of your blood type is the white streaks of hair that you will obtain on your head by the time you're 13 years old. That is one of the main signifiers of the beginning of your mutation. Unfortunately, a variety of people who believe themselves to be cursed by this were outcasted, hated on, and were looked at like if they were the devil himself. And that is where Matt Price Jr. comes into play. You see, Matt Price Jr. was a very special individual, and the reason for that is that he was actually the first mutant individual to be a part of the U.S. Forces Spy Division. Given that he had some amazing telepathic abilities, he was able to use his mind-reading powers to more or less figure out who the enemies truly were, you know, under all of their fake lying masks that they all wear. But after a while, he was only seen as a weapon, not really much of a human being. So when he was able to properly retire and to live his own life as he would, he decided to start his own initiative. A covert operation of taking other individuals like him and making the world a better place. Showing off that people with the white streaks on their hair, the O-negative blood, they are not a bad omen, but a good omen. And that's what he decided to call his new team of mutated individuals. There are forces out there that unfortunately are filled to the brim with these mutant individuals that try to fight back. But of course, the Omen will do everything in their power to show that humans and mutants are meant to live side by side. For they are not a bad one, but for they are a good omen onto the world. And there you go, my very own interpretation of the X-Men that I call the Omen. Hopefully this was able to clear out as to why the majority of these characters had white streaks in their hair, because obviously I had a bit of a gimmick going on. And yes, just like in my Fantabulous 5 video, aka my Fantastic Four knockoff video, I obviously put them all in the same suits, just different faces, different body types, because again, I wanted to signify them being a unified team. I love the X-Men's designs, but they're a bit too chaotic in my perspective, so just having them being a more unified team just makes more sense to me. So yes, I am glad that y'all were able to enjoy this video, and I think this is actually going to be the end of this video. So to my fellow weirdos out there, stay awesome, stay weird, and always keep life to the easiest. Of course, always remember that art inspires all, but you can inspire more. And never forget to stay ultra. Okay, now that that's all situated, on to my next video. I know they didn't necessarily ask for it, but I think it's only fitting given how it's a Marvel universe. And in every knockoff Marvel universe, you're gonna need at least one of these kind of characters. So I think it's about time I make my own friendly neighborhood kind of hero. That way they can all really get to enjoy. Okay, done. We're gonna go killer for this one. Oh yeah, they're gonna love this one for sure.